Welcome to the Hormone Hub, your go-to source for the conversations every woman in her 40s and 50s needs to have. I'm your host, Kylie Pinwill, your nutritionist helping you navigate your way through perimenopause, menopause and beyond so you can say goodbye to the endless fatigue, unexplained weight gain, hot flushes, PMS, mood changes and more that come on this hormonal roller coaster. If you missed the memo or think this is only for women of a certain age, ladies, it's time to think again. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of my latest episodes, which are released every week. Share it with your friends, your sweaty sisters. The more we talk, the more we help each other. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hormone Hub. Today, we are going to talk about food sensitivities, food allergies, reactions to foods that we may or may not be thinking about. So, let's face it, most of us know what healthy eating looks like, okay? So we know we should be drinking more water. We know we should be eating more veggies. We know, more protein at this age, yada, yada. But what if our healthy eating is actually causing us issues? So today I wanted to talk about, how this can happen and, also what to look for and what we can do about it as well. So pretty much with every single client I've worked with for the last 5 or so years, I now do a food sensitivity test. Now, this food sensitivity test, if we think of allergies as like the full-blown enchilada, your body is having a massive reaction. It's an immune response to, whatever it is. So, for instance, peanuts or tree nuts or gluten or dairy or, whatever it is. If it's an allergy, your body has an immune response. So it generally can start with, tongue tingling and, it's potentially life-threatening 100% because it's then affects your tongue, your throat, your airways. So we want to, be aware 100% of allergies. But what I'm talking about today, I'm talking about lower level food sensitivities or intolerances that just trigger, a low-grade inflammation in your body. Now, this low-grade inflammation could be different for everyone. And certainly as our bodies, and I hate saying this, as we get older, the way our body responds to food changes. So we naturally produce less digestive enzymes to break down our food. We naturally produce less stomach acid to break down that food so we can digest it. So we want to make sure, first and foremost, that we are supporting the way our body produces digestive enzymes and supporting our natural production of stomach acid. Then what might happen is, we could be eating, and I see this all the time in women, this pattern of eating, very similar foods over and over again. We've got, healthy eating nailed. We know we need to have broccoli. We know we need to have chicken, eggs, brown rice, whatever it is for you. But maybe it's not right for you. Maybe it's just too much for you. Maybe your body has got to a point where it's hit its tolerance level. Then triggers this cascade of inflammatory symptoms. So, commonly we notice first, or, a really common one in women our age, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, both, those IBS type symptoms. It could be in, fatigue, is definitely caused by food sensitivities. Poor sleep, so waking up, not being able to sleep at night. Cravings can be driven by food sensitivities. Then we sort of think of things like, poor concentration, poor memory, brain fog, that low energy levels, recurring and sort of unresolved illnesses, infections that we can't quite shake. Then we've got skin things that could be going on. So any eczema, psoriasis, hives, rashes, just weird skin stuff in general, can all be triggered by food sensitivities. And, even if we consider these foods to be otherwise healthy, they may not be right for you right now. So we want to, just identify them and take the guessing game out. Now, a lot of, hormonal symptoms and imbalances can also be influenced by food sensitivities, because, we think of that inflammation. And then remember a few weeks ago, I talked about, high estrogen being an inflammatory state. So again, we've got this, the more inflammation you have, the more potential for it to cascade. So we really want to identify all of these things that are triggering a low-grade inflammation. We want to take them out. We want to let that inflammation settle down. We would, ideally your symptoms will resolve and, life can go on for sure. So I just wanted to chat about this test today, sort of how it works, because I do get a lot of questions, and also, like how simple it is. So the reason I use this particular test over, other tests are it's local food and produce that you would get in your local supermarket. So if you're in Australia, we have a specific test for, Australian foods and products. If you're in New Zealand, a separate New Zealand test. Same with the UK, US, Canada, Southeast Asia. So wherever you are, you're actually being tested for foods that you're likely to be eating. So not, we don't just take, the Australian test and kind of like make it work with, foods that you would get in the US. So it is specific to your local area. And the other thing I like about this particular food test is it doesn't take out food groups unnecessarily. So what it does is it breaks it down. So we might have, with dairy, for instance. So it might come back, just say I've tested myself, it's come back and it might say, okay, Kylie, cow's milk isn't right for you right now. But what you can have is you can still have yogurt and butter, for instance. So it breaks it down to that specific level. Likewise with, gluten and wheat and things like that, a lot of people are put on elimination diets to take out these whole food groups. But if we're taking out like all of the everything, we might actually be okay to have sourdough. We might actually be okay to have certain brands of pasta. We might be okay to have, we might not be able to too. So we want to be able to know exactly what to eat, exactly what not to eat. And the thing is, if we are told to avoid dairy, avoid gluten, what do? We tend to then go to with milk, for instance, we'll go to almond milk or soy milk or, some kind of nut milk. But a lot of these products, and the same with a lot of gluten-free products, if we are taking out the key ingredients and we're putting in like manufactured ingredients, those foods are quite often highly processed. So the beauty of this test is it doesn't just tell you to take out the particular food, it also tests the alternatives as well. So, you might be sitting there thinking, God, well, what's left? If you're going to take out milk and almond milk, what can I have? But the beauty of this is there's over 600 different products that it tests. And what I get clients to do is focus, rather than focusing on what you can't have, is focus on what you can have. So anyone who's ever been put on an elimination diet, on a FODMAPs diet, will appreciate this. And, I will never, ever put a client on a FODMAPs diet ever again. And I think the problem with FODMAPs is, yes, it identifies the different groups of foods, but you may not be sensitive to all of those groups, yet you've been told to take out all of the foods in all of those groups, and you're never, ever told, well, what can you have instead? The same with elimination diets. You take out everything, but you're not told, what you can have. So for anyone in my previous life as a nutritionist that I put on a FODMAP diet or an elimination diet, you've got my sincerest apologies, and I will never do that to another client ever again. And just a little side note on FODMAPs there is you're only supposed to be on it for 4 weeks. So people are sort of told, here's a FODMAPs diet, go follow this, off you go. And, I'd speak to clients like 2 years later and they're still trying to battle through and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So the beauty of this is while it may come up and say, okay, Kylie, you can't have cow's milk, broccoli, and chicken, but it does give me the alternatives. So it will give me all the vegetables that I can have. It will give me all of the proteins that I can have. It will give me anything in dairy that I can have. It will give me forms of, bread or pasta that I can eat. So, switching that mindset from what you can't have because food is a problem for you over into what you can have can be, a massive shift just in your mindset because you no longer feel restricted by what you can't eat. So, and the other thing I wanted to talk about is we're not taking these foods out forever. We recommend a period of 6 months. So we, take them out, we identify what's a problem or problematic for you. We take them out of your diet, out of your life for about 6 months. We let that inflammation settle down. We let those symptoms resolve. And then ideally, we should be able to reintroduce those foods without too many problems. Usually there might be a reaction to 1 or 2 foods on that reintroduction. And generally, straight away. I've had clients who, have had tomatoes come up on their food sensitivity test. Tomatoes seems to be a highly emotional thing that comes up. I've had tears over tomatoes. But you know what? I've had ladies, fight me over the tomatoes. I'm like, it just is what it is. Trust me for 6 months. Let's go with it. Because they eat tomatoes every single day. So we've taken the tomatoes out, the inflammation settled down, and then I'll get a text 6 months later going, oh my God, I just had tomatoes yesterday. I was so excited. And, I blew up, or my body blew up, or my hands puffed up, or, whatever it is, the symptom. And those ladies know straight away that tomatoes just aren't for them. So it can quite often be those foods that we love and the foods that we eat every day are the actual ones causing problems for us, despite how healthy they might be. So the other beauty of this is we're also testing not just foods. So we test foods, so it's broken down into categories. So vegetables, fruits, different animal proteins, different vegetarian proteins, dairy, non-dairy, herbs, spices, common packet foods, chocolates, different brands. So it's quite comprehensive. But the beauty is it also has a look at laundry products. So what are you washing your clothes in and then wearing it? So different brands. What deodorants are you wearing? Is it your toothpaste that's an issue? Is it your cleaning products? So it really breaks it down into a brand by brand, it is that specific, which is good. And, it gives you alternatives. So if you don't react to a different brand, we just switch you over to that brand, no problem. So we aren't taking out all toothpaste from your life. All right. And if there is something that isn't on the test, we can also add that in by request as well. So if you've got a specific brand or a specific supplement that you're having and you're having it every single day, you've got these symptoms that aren't resolving, we can test that to make sure. Now, the beauty is this is a non-invasive test. It is suitable for everyone, and it's actually a hair test. So we take a small sort of snip of your hair, about 2 centimetres off the end. It can be coloured hair because, try finding too many women our age that don't have coloured hair. So even though I'm going grey, there's still a little bit of colour going on there. So it can be coloured, and it doesn't have to be from the nape of your neck either. It can just be from the end. Pop it in a Ziploc bag, post it to me. I send it off to be tested, and usually we get the results back about 7 to 10 days after I have sent it off. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. There is a specific baby test as well. So if, you've got a family member who's breastfeeding or bottle feeding an infant, the infant has, really sort of bad colic, poor digestion, skin rashes, we can test the baby as well. And also our furry friends. So we can do pet hair, pet fur, feathers, and again, it's tested for over 250 different items. So all of your pets who have particularly stinky bums or itchy skin or, all the weird things that come with our pets, we know we love them, we can test the pet as well. So again, we just need that little sample and we post it off. So I hope this sort of gives you a good idea of, where food sensitivity testing comes in. So, we eat food 3 times a day. We don't think about how the impact of this food is, particularly if we think, oh, well, I've got a fairly healthy diet. So if you have had, any changes in your symptoms or any unresolved symptoms, it's certainly worth considering a food sensitivity test. And because we're focusing on what you can have rather than what you can't have, the compliance is good, it's easier to follow, and we get the results because it is easier for you to follow. So when we hit perimenopause and our hormones are fluctuating, we've got higher levels of estrogen, it's commonly reported that a lot of women notice increases in their allergy symptoms. So when we have high levels of estrogen, we also have higher levels of histamines. So if you are sort of having any, you've noticed your hay fever has, gone crazy. So things like nasal congestion, sinus, hives, irritability, things like that. It can be due to high histamines related to high estrogen. Now, this is quite common for women too, who've never really had any sort of allergy type symptoms, but it can also come in the form of, as well as our, typical hay fever symptoms, it can also come in the form of irritability, insomnia and not sleeping at night, migraines that you've never had before, joint pain, fluid retention, things like tinnitus, so that ringing in the ears can be related to high histamines, nausea, diarrhea. So it's good to be aware that, these are related to higher levels of estrogen, but can also be triggered. So we've kind of got this vicious cycle of food intolerances because we've got this, lower production of, stomach acid and lower production of digestive enzymes. So we're not breaking down our food as well as we should do. So, there's studies out there to show that this high sort of histamine levels and, this mast cell activation, so that's what's going on when we've got the high histamine levels. It can also contribute to heavy periods, period pain, and this is all because, that histamine stimulates that excess estrogen production, causing that heavy bleeding. So it's certainly worth having a look. So if you've noticed a big change in your allergy symptoms or in your, you've just got these new sort of intolerances and you can't really put your finger on it, it's worth sort of investing in the food sensitivity test and also sort of thinking about, what's potentially triggering it. Because, like I said, food can be your friend and food can also, make us very unwell. So it can be our medicine, can also be our poison. So if you have any questions, let us know. I will pop up a sample in the show notes just so you can see, what it looks like and, how simple it would be to follow. Anyway, that's it for today. Just a quick one on food sensitivities, testings, when you might need to consider be tested, and all those good things. Thank you for taking the time to listen today. You can head on over to the show notes at kyliepinwell.com/podcast, where you'll find all the links and I have a little bonus surprise waiting for you. Before we go, it would mean the world to me if you head on over to your favourite podcasts channel, subscribe and leave a review. Make sure to screenshot it, DM it to me so I can thank you personally. Then stay tuned for next week's episode. Can't wait to see you there.